I went on a mission trip about 2 weeks ago to Honduras. My exact location was Honduras, Tegucigalpa, and then I stayed at the village of Guanopi. That's where I was for the majority of the week. I went with a group called BMDMI that represents Baptist Medical and Dental Mission International. I was part of the Dr. Rose and Jim Woods team. That was our team. Our team was 64 team members, 20 translators, and 5 staff that helped out throughout the week. This was the airport that we were at. As you can see, it's not as big as some of the airports that we have in the United States. It was a pretty small airport, and if you guys don't like plane rides, you wouldn't like to go there because the landing field is very, very small. As soon as I landed, we went across the street, and there was a Pizza Hut. And surprisingly, pizza's still really good there. You would think it wouldn't be that good, but it was pretty good. And they had, their water bottles are this big. They're huge. This was all the type of currency. It goes from 1 lemp to 500 lemps. Lempire is the currency, and for the currency exchange, it is 5 cents for 1 lempire, just so you know. And the gas there is about 14 lempiras. That is 70 cents. This was a view. It's kind of hard to see, but in the mountains of Honduras, it's a beautiful sight, and it was just amazing to see. And it was funny, the one time I went outside and I looked up in a mountain and there was a wildfire. This is where I stayed at for Saturday, and then I got there Thursday and Friday and left Saturday. This was called the Mission Home. This is where everyone that is part of BMDMI stays in Honduras whenever they need to go there, and those are the buses that we took to go everywhere. This was a little concession stand by the side of the road. As you can see, most people, they would go on the side of the streets and go up to cars and stuff and ask them if they wanted to buy anything just so that they could get some money. They would do whatever they can to be able to get some money to live on. There's more fruits and stuff. These were the guards that were in our compound. We stayed at a school. It was basically 3 long 1-story buildings, and that was the school in Guanopi for K-12. And they also called these guys the vigilantes because they would go around at night and they would patrol the gate around the school compound to make sure that nobody is trying to get in or anything, no animals or anything. So they protected us throughout the week. Right here, we were unloading the stuff that we needed for the facilities that we were having. Their showers were pretty cool, the way they made their showers. It was just big metal sheets, and then they brought a water heater, and then we would take showers with the water heater inside those metal crates. And our facilities that we had were pharmacy, optical for glasses, medical, dental, shoes, rice, and beans. And those were all the facilities that we had for the people. There we are. We're unloading more stuff. This was the playground area. That was a basketball hoop, and it's pretty much a soccer area. And the soccer area is all concrete, so be careful not to fall. Right here, we're unloading the mattresses that we had because we didn't have cots or anything, so we had to stay on mattresses. And we stayed inside the school. And just so you know, whenever you're 4,100 feet elevation, it's blazing hot for about 6 hours of the day. But the rest of the day, it is windy and it is cold. And these buildings do not have windows. They're just screens. Some people were prepared. They knew about the Zika virus, and they came with a net around their bed while they're sleeping. This is Dr. Rose during one of our morning devotions. He would always talk about the statistics of what happened during the week, and he would also give us stories about amazing things that would happen in the past and how they led up to certain times now. That was Frank. He was a very good singer. He would always sing for the first part of our morning devotions, and he would just sing to everyone. He would just sing a whole bunch of songs, and everyone would sing along. This was some of the youth. I was the second youngest there. Most of the people are older, but I'm taller than all of them. This is where I did children's ministry. It was called the Assembly of God, and those were just some of the kids. Normally we had a whole bunch of kids. The most kids we ever had come to a session was 126. This was on top of a hill. We took a picture. You'll see in a later picture that there's a cross. Like where they took the picture, they're standing right in front of a cross, and it's just a big cross right on top of the hill, and it looks super nice. And it's crazy to walk up that hill. It's like that steep to get up, and people live up there. So, imagine carrying your groceries. After we got our food, we had one food area that we got our food. They washed all their food in bleach. Nothing, no germs could live in there at all. And what we would do is, since we didn't really have a place to sit, like a cafeteria or anything, we would just sit on the sidewalk and eat our food, and we were fine with it. Didn't have a problem. It was wonderful. This was a house. As most of you know, if you think that your house is small or anything, trust me, that's wonderful. That's like a mansion compared to these people. If you have a shed in your backyard, that's a pretty decent home for them. And they just think it's a nice place. And right here, all they have for security-wise is just barbed wire on those sticks as a fence. And they don't have doors or anything. So they don't have much security either. This was whenever we went on our first evangelism trip. During our evangelism, we had 268 professions of faith whenever we were going throughout the village of Grenoble. This was the first people that we met. And what they would do is the guy kneeling, he was our translator. And the guy in the red, he was another translator for whenever we kept going around. And then we would have a preacher who would talk to them, and then the translator would talk to them, and we would talk to them about giving their lives up for God. And a lot of people did. And it was just a great thing to see. Here was another family. Those two little kids, such sweet kids. They were so overjoyed to hear the message, and they just had a happy look on their faces. Right here, this was the line of people that came for our facilities. And here, that's a better picture. So this is probably not even half of how many people that came. This was like a long line that went up a road, and then in the back there's a gate, and they went to the left of the gate for a while, and then to get there, they had to get little permission forms in order to go to here and get their stuff, because I don't know, that's just the way they did it. But there were hundreds of people by the stores to get those permission slips and everything, so there were plenty of people that came. As you can see, more children running around, having fun. Since I was young and my grandfather had broken ribs, we couldn't do much for most of the construction. So what we did for the first day was we cut steel beams in half to form the roof of the church. This was before the roof was built. Their old roof was a wooden roof, and it was beyond repair. It was termite infested, and they just couldn't repair it anymore, so they cranked out their prayers to get a new roof, and it was just great to see. And those were all the supplies that we had in order to build the roof. That was the frame of the roof on Monday after we finished that, and then this was whenever it was finished. Like, as long as it's a roof over their head, they're fine. Like, they don't normally have insulation, they don't have windows. As long as it keeps the rain off them, they're happy. And this was the service on Wednesday, just so you know. This was the construction team. Most of the people were Hondurans, part of the construction team, because they didn't want the Americans to get hurt while they were on their trip. So most of the Hondurans did the roof work and stuff, but we built a lot of things whenever we were there. Here is a child with cerebral palsy, and as you can see right there, the mother, she's just super happy. And you can only imagine with my mom and Seth how hard it is to take care of him. Only imagine if, you only had a house the size of a shed, and your floor was dirt, you barely had enough money to buy food or even medicine. So just imagine, and she has a happy look on her face. It's just amazing to see. As you can see there, she's at medical. Her son's looking up at her. They're just overjoyed to be there. Right here, he's a kid with, I believe, autism and cerebral palsy. You can see his mother in the background. She just has a wonderful look on her face. She's just smiling. There he goes, saying hello. And then you see the mother again. See how happy she is. Just to see all the facilities that were here, it's just amazing for the people to see. They barely had anything. Their shoes might as well be called socks because they had holes in them and everything, and they weren't padded or anything. So they were just great to see what they could get. Right here, there's a translator. I guess he knew him, part of family or something, and he picked him up and just look at his face. He's so happy. And there he is. He's getting shoes, and we might think hey, I want to get the best shoes. I want to look the best with shoes. They got Crocs, and they were just overjoyed to have Crocs, and they were just so happy. Right here, this was after children's ministry the one day. We were in a pavilion, and these were all the children. They were singing, and they did a craft at the end, and they did memory verses as well. Oh, here we also taught them how to do Jesus Loves Me in English, and these kids are very smart. They learned it in English in 20 minutes. So it was really cool. Marina, she was the leader of the children's ministry whenever I was there. Everyone spoke Spanish, so most of the people on our team for children's ministry had no clue what was going on. But she helped us out a lot and pretty much told the kids all the stories throughout the days. Right here, everyone's doing their craft. They were drawing. That craft for the day was Noah's Ark. We didn't build. We drew Noah's Ark on a paper plate and had animal stickers. Right here, there's two little girls. They were drawing their Noah's Ark plate. And right there, that's me and this little girl named Cindy. Cindy was probably my best friend that was there. She just made me happy whenever she was there, and whenever, we would walk down by the road, and she would try and talk to English to me because she knew that I couldn't really understand Spanish. So we would try and communicate with each other, and whenever I wanted to talk to her, I would act out what I said so she knew what I meant. And she would say it in Spanish, and then I would say it in English, and then she would repeat it. And I just thought that was amazing. And then Wednesday, the night before we left Guanopi and we went back to the mission home, we were at the service, and the preacher was basically talking about we might not see these people for years to come. And I started tearing up. I got sad, and she was sitting right next to me, and I looked over at her, and she reached out her hand at me and rubbed my back and told me it was going to be okay. It was a blessing. This was the Assembly of God. It was the Noah's Ark Day as well. As you can see, we're all wearing the masks in the background, acting goofy. There we are doing our crafts. This craft was the Adam and Eve craft. We were making a snake. As you can see, a whole bunch of children. There were way more children some other days. There were plenty more. There we are doing our crafts again. It was difficult because they did not understand what I was saying, so I had to point. I would say bravo if they got it, and they would just be happy. And it was amazing to see what the kids would say. After the craft was finished, one would say, "Thank you, Brandon," and then he would tell his friends what that meant, and then they would all say, "Thank you, Brandon," and it was just, I was like, wow, they learned that so fast, and they just looked at me. And then whenever they left from children's ministry, because we only had 2 sessions per day, some of the kids go, Brandon, bye. And I just thought, that was amazing. As you can see, we were doing more crafts, and Logan helping out with crafts. It's hard to see, but this was the Wednesday. We were doing Jesus Loves Me. As I told you before, we were learning it in English, and then we said it in Spanish. So we sang Jesus Loves Me in English and in Spanish so that the Hondurans and the Americans could hear it. And all those children would sing it in English, they would say it out of order a little bit because they didn't really know English. And whenever Spanish came on, they were just booming. It was funny. Right here, that's Michael. He's awesome little boy. He has so much energy. Plug him into a wall. He has so much energy. We were playing soccer, and all we had was a little road to play on, and that's all they needed. They were just having fun. Right there, we were playing soccer after we loaded up on Sunday. Still playing soccer for most of the day. Right there, that was on Wednesday. We were setting up for a piñata. This would be our last children's ministry session, and we were having a piñata day. So we had 10 boxes of candy, and we threw them out to all the kids after the piñata broke, and we just threw them out all over them. And man, if one piece of candy came out, there would be 10 kids swarming that little piece. It was crazy. As you can see, all the kids that were there. Right there, they were singing, doing their Bible verses. Right here, we played a game of soccer. To the right, there was a really nice soccer field. Green, there was mist going around everywhere. It was a super nice soccer field. We went by and we were like, we're going to play on that field? Wow! And then we went up the hill a little more and we saw a dirt, rocks, and soccer field. But hey, it's all right as long as we played. But this was a huddle before we played, and we prayed. And then the Americans would say a prayer, and then the Hondurans would translate it. So it was nice. And right there, that was about 30 minutes after we did the prayer. So, Honduran kicked the ball, and it went down the road, and it got popped. So this was all the players that went. And since, like I said, we were on a dirt and rock field, the guy in the middle holding his hands like this, his whole knee was scraped up from falling so much. And let me say it like this. Hondurans versus Americans, Americans got creamed. This was one of our services. What we would do is the guy in the pink shirt, he's Eric. He would be the preacher for the service for the night. We would have a different preacher every single day. And then the guy right next to him is the translator, and he would say it in Spanish for the Hondurans that were there. As you can see, on the left are most of the Americans that were there, and on the right were most of the Hondurans. As you can see, there were a whole bunch of people that showed up to the service. Services were 7 o'clock at night, and they were cold. Right here, I was at the Bible Institute. The Bible Institute is basically young people. They have to be 17 or older. They would go there for a 3-year program, and they would actually stay at the Bible Institute, and they would, every week they would go out to evangelize, and they would pray, and they would do Bible studies for those 3 years so that they could become pastors. And it was just great to see. Right there, they sang 2 songs, and they're wonderful singers. Right there is one of the dogs there. The dogs there aren't really that cared for, but they're still prayed for. If you can see, around his neck, there's a little green thing. That was a cross. It was a little plastic cross. And what we said, we got these little plastic crosses, and we would say, Jesus te ama, which means Jesus loves you. And we would give them out to all the kids. And one of them put them on the dogs. And as you can see, we prayed for the dogs as well. Right there is one of the crosses on the mountain. And that was the cross that was on the very large mountain that was very steep to get up. It's a really big cross, and it looks super nice to see. You can see all the mountains and stuff overview. And yes, we did watch the Super Bowl. Right there, that is Rene. He was the leader of BMDMI, the group that we were there. And he was a Honduran, and he actually lives there. So he put on a hotspot, and we were able to watch the Super Bowl. And right here is just a little Jesus fish, Jesus te ama, and I would be glad to go again, and maybe we can have more people come next time as well. Thank you.
So what did you think of that? Anybody have any thoughts? Any comments? Any revelations?
Thank God for our youth.